Hello and welcome to another Near Reading cast. As always, my name is Johno, and I'm joined once again by Andy 6 to 10 Parsons. Andy, how you doing?
Yeah, it's all good.
So, in this video, in these round 2, game 2 of the Swiss at the BABW Qualifiers in Reading, we're going to have all the shots Dave Etherington on the left, playing his HB Engineering Future deck. And on the right, we're going to have Rob Thompson playing a very interesting MaxX deck, which we alluded to at the end of the previous video. It's quite a beast. It has 110 cards.
It possibly can be seen from space.
It has all the good out cards, and I guess some not great out cards. And yeah, it's just good out cards. It's quite an interesting approach to the Max philosophy of just giving you stuff. So we'll be interesting to see how it does in this. Right, I guess I should tell you what we lose. Okay, so we start by losing a Katie Jones and a Vigil.
I mean, yeah,
whatever.
Yeah, Rob's going to have econ solutions, and Vigil is a good card, but maybe not something he needs to see right away.
I mean, so we need to bear the kind of milling fallacy in mind here, which is that if you're never going to draw to the bottom of your deck, then if you lose random cards from your deck, it doesn't matter. They might, because they could have just been on the bottom and you never drew them. So bringing them within reach to some extent, being in the bin is not that bad. So we saw a clone chip go past. I guess that's annoying.
That is annoying.
Meanwhile, on the HB side, we have 2 next silvers already res. So we're going to assume that we've got a next sweep. There we go. We've got a next bronze as well.
Yeah, they're all
so, and he hilariously has the breaker in hand.
Yogg in hand.
So it's going to be agenda. No, it's not. It's Valley Grid. Ooh, so that's a really interesting splash. So Valley now.
I think Dave sounds quite excited about that.
So Valley Grid's a really interesting card. So does he? He couldn't trash it. He couldn't afford to trash it. What's your response to Valley Grid?
I'd be very concerned where this is going. If I was Rob, there must be some kind of synergy in Dave's deck. It's not the only time I've ever seen Valley Grid is in Jinteki, is in decks where negative hand size or horrible death is on the cards.
So I played a lot of Valley Grid out of a biotech deck that I took to a few tournaments for a while actually, including nationals, which was kind of biotech. It could go a couple of ways. It was either a kind of rush behind the greenhouse, or it could be a brewery kill deck with and things like Valley Grid next to a Caprice make servers really uninviting to run on.
Oh yeah.
But it's quite interesting to see it in HB. So as you say, there must be some synergy. I guess it's going to be net damage or meat damage. Maybe Caprice then, or Excalibur or something.
Has Ryan Knight been released at this point?
No. This was... No, that's a good question. I don't believe so. This is up to the underway. I believe Ryan Knight was later. I want to say that was in... Not Investor World one before. I don't remember. I don't think it was out at this point.
Okay.
I don't think it was in the underway. I can tell you once before it's in this deck. Not in this deck.
Right.
So that's not a thing.
No.
But yes, you make a good point. Something like that might be interesting. Maybe it's a brain damage combined. Maybe it could be a brain damage deck.
Yeah, I that's sort of the negative hand size combined with increased ways to increase the negative hand size is as a Vitruvius comes out onto the board.
So yeah, it's Biotics out of Vitruvius. I guess it's a 3-2. So whatever.
Too many people don't take advantage of the ability of Vitruvius.
Yeah, I like to see Vitruvius overscored. I mean, I don't know. It depends what strategy he's got going. Maybe he just wanted to get rid of the hacktivist meeting. I don't know. But he could have. I don't know. It would have been nice if it was an accelerated beat test because he has a Jackson, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it would be nice to. I do like to see it overscored because you're going to be playing good cards. Okay, so we have an incubator. So we have a kind of plot maybe emerging from Rob's deck. It's obviously going to be lots of good out cards.
Yeah.
Because he hasn't got the influence to have, he hasn't got room for lots of other cards. So I guess we're expecting a lot of viruses. And Incubate is good. You throw it down and eventually he'll draw a medium or a nerve agent or something, or I don't know, parasite, whatever. He's going to be wary about the fact it's 3 next dice already, I guess. So I guess he'd like to draw a parasite and trash,
definitely.
say, a next silver or something like that. He did also install a clot, probably more a threat than anything. There is an Aesop's on the board. Yeah, there is an Aesop's on the board. So you might see him sell the clock at some point. It might just be a temporary.
Yeah, potentially. I mean, I would. Whether he wants to slow down the fast advancing.
So Faust into Knifed is quite nice. He's going to chuck some cards, including a Nerve Agent. Interesting. To pay for a run R&D, blowing up next silver. It's another one of them.
The Valley Grid.
Sure, whatever. So Valley Grid and Faust, is there an anti-synergy there? Yeah, that's not great, because you're going to be below hand size anyway, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So maybe he's just not that worried about Valley Grid. He'd be quite... yeah, I guess this Faust is going to help him check remotes, that kind of thing, and you'd expect a wild side or something to help him draw the cards up. Earthrise is obviously going to give him cards as well. So a bit of a misplay here. Dave plays Peak Efficiency.
Yeah.
But there's only 2 res dice on the board.
So he gets 1 credit.
No, so yeah, he nets 1 credit. I think it was just misplay. He only realised after he played it, and he's like, whatever, I didn't know. So he just didn't take it back. I would have let him take it back, and I'm sure Rob would have as well. But he said, I've committed to it now. I don't know. Having said that, Peak Efficiency is an underplayed card. It's great late in the game.
Oh yeah, and particularly in Next, when you're resing your eyes cheaply, you want to get it out.
Yeah.
It can be phenomenal. I had a very good game against Chris Dyer. I think it was at regionals where with my Next ETF versus his Noise, and I was in a difficult position, but could have stabilised if he hadn't targeted milled my peak efficiency that was on the board. That would have taken me from 1 to about 11 credits.
Yes,
and turned off the headlock that he had against me and changed the game dramatically.
That is actually a good point, which didn't come off in the last video, but when we were watching Joey play Noise, there were a couple of occasions where he could have timed his installs to trash key cards, which he didn't. And that's actually a very important possibility in Noise, and it is important to bear that in mind. Okay, so we've now got Katie on the board for Max as well. So with Esots and Katie, there's a kind of economy engine there. So he's run out of Earthrise, so he's going to have to start drawing again. I assume he's got Wildside and Pancakes. I guess so.
You'd hope so, because
he's not going to rely on them, but with Faust they'd be great.
Rob's a big fan of John Masanori, but that's normally in his criminal builds where he's doing sort of security testing and other things like that on a routine basis.
So we're going to check the remote. Another Jackson, so I guess there's no point trashing it. Do you do anything about these Jacksons? I guess it doesn't matter. There's no mills. You just wait for him to use them.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing.
He's going to trash that one once he has an agenda, right? The raised one.
There's only really econ in the bin for Dave, which is obviously nice to cycle through, but there's very little point of. So Net Ready Eyes comes down.
Yeah, so let's see who loses. Deja Vu and Deja Vu.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's not ideal. Okay, alright. I'm going to get Mem Strips as well.
Another underplayed card.
Would have much rather played that one. Mem Strips good.
For a given value of good. I mean, it's the... Playing Anarch, every now and again I'll want to have lots... I won't want Grimoire, and I'll want to have more memory for viruses. It's about finding it. It's about it taking up slots. It's about...
He probably has a lot of viruses, so he probably thought it would be a useful include.
Yeah.
I mean, it's possible it's the 110th card. I don't know at what point you... Yeah.
So there's a Parasite and a Data Sucker going in the bin.
Yeah.
I wish he's had that Deja Vu.
Parasite would be great. Some play I've had worse. Now, if he's worried about damage, maybe it's worth keeping that in hand. Maybe not. I don't know.
I'm still confused as to what role the Valley Grids have in Dave's deck.
Well, if he's worried about brain damage, I've had worse does nothing. So, yeah, he hasn't seen any other clues. He's accessed a few cards. He hasn't seen any other clues about what... I mean, you're right, there must be a counterpoint to it.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be like Neurals or something. Maybe he's just gone all in on Jinteki. Snares, that kind of thing. Although Snares are, again, a bit of a kind of nombo with Valley Grid.
Yeah.
The Valley Grid only combos with a next turn kill. Okay, so we've got another Vitruvius out. Again, not over advanced, but I guess they're agendas. So So, do you feel safe as Dave? He hasn't got a lot of money, so he can probably res the ice on this remote if it's next ice, for instance.
Yeah.
So maybe he feels the remote is safe. I feel like the value grid won't do a lot of work against Faust. And now we're getting an incubator onto a medium.
Yeah.
And then a run on R&D. This is a click 4 run on R&D. So if you can res it, so it's it's the next silver. Okay. So Faust is going to break it, and then we're going to get 6 accesses. Okay.
Now, has Rob got any cards in hand?
I think he's got a couple. He doesn't have a lot. Okay, 6 cards. So we get. So we can get a Prior Rec. Interesting. It's gold. Yeah. Jackson. Turing and a hedge fund. Mm-hmm. Okay. So the Prior Rec is that weird include for next? Maybe it's for next gold, that kind of thing. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a strange. We don't know what the ice suite is. I guess so it could be anything. And we have a Purge. So Purge is probably a good move.
Definitely.
Clears the medium, but also gets rid of Clot for what it's worth. Although I don't think that's necessarily doesn't matter. There's your John M as you said. So yeah. I have a love-hate. No, I don't have a hate-hate relation with John Massanori. He's done good work for me, but he always tags me, the bastard. So I don't get on with him. I don't know. But if you're confident you can get in, and I guess with Faust and a bunch of cards, if Rob now adapts his playing style slightly to only check when he can get in, and it looks like he'll be able to get in wherever he runs, except possibly the remote, then it's 3 cards, I guess. It's good for Faust,
What's interesting, we've seen 2 Turings coming down the line. Now, at the moment, with the way that Rob's set up, he has no way of dealing with, apart from clicking through, dealing with a Turing on a remote.
Yeah, that's true, actually.
Because he's got net ready eyes to take it to strength 4, but he doesn't have a data set to bring it down for the strength 5. Now, whether that will be a big issue for Rob or not, I'm not sure.
I feel like if he face plants one, then it just means that he ends the run and misses that turn. But on subsequent turns, he just run and click 1 and take clicks. I get the feeling he's playing quite fast and loose. He doesn't feel precious about about clicks.
We see a Turing in the bin now anyway.
So the Turing in the bin, so we know he's going to draw more, though, I guess. I wasn't keeping track of which of the things he drew, but I guess we could do that. And we've got another incubator on the board. So I guess in another 3 or 4 turns, we're going to get another medium run.
Yeah, I mean...
Should you defend as Dave? Should you proactively start icing R&D and getting credits?
I'd expect him to, or you can just take your chances and hope that you draw. He's still got a Jackson down on the board that's unresed. He could start drawing to see and try and get more agendas and econ to help with the score.
But the thing is, Rob saw 6 cards, so he knows that in 3 or 4 turns he's going to see all new fresh cards.
Yep.
And I guess he also knows what Dave is going to draw, so he knows if things get iced in the next few turns, what the options are, that kind of thing. Doesn't necessarily mean he can solve the problems, but the alternative is, I guess you could deliberately overdraw as Dave. You could start aggressively drawing, or if you've got a Jackson, you could shuffle and draw, that kind of thing, just to draw cards that Rob hasn't seen.
Yes, no, definitely.
So we're getting a run on it's R&D.
No, it's HQ.
Oh, it's HQ. I apologise. It is HQ. Okay. Okay. Let's see value with whatever the imp set. I guess he's probably just going to sell the imp. You're right. There was a click 2 around HQ. So you can use Voltage and KT. Okay. So economy. KT is now on 9 credits as well, so it'll pay out soon. I guess you have to bear KT credits in mind when you compare economy. Meanwhile, Incubator is ticking over. The thing I like about Incubator is it kind of forces purges, or I don't know. I like, even if there's no viruses on the board apart from Incubator, I still like to purge when it hits 3 or 4. Like, I don't want to know what you're about to do.
It switches on too many options. For things to go quite horribly wrong.
You could have a nerve agent in hand or something, right? So if you ice up R&D, he can say, psych, you can install this nerve agent, or sell the medium, install nerve agent, and go HQ. So knifed on presumably R&D again. So he's really hammering home this R&D point, but I get it.
Yeah,
he thinks that's where the agendas are. Makes sense. So he's going to see 2 cards. That's no good. No, wait.
Just
Is it
one.
2? Oh, I'm sorry. I thought he had not yet put the counter. I'm getting ahead of myself. Okay, yeah, he runs again. Okay. So he's going to see it and input this time, which should have done before. And he's not. Okay, all right. Sure. Okay, so you can't stop that getting played. But he's going to... I mean, he can just hit R&D every turn now for a few, and then incubate, and then, I don't know, make things really bad. One good incubator medium run can win you the game, right? I mean,
Definitely. Now, I mean, you've got half of the Anarch cards that have been released in Rob's deck. Has he got showing off in there?
I would love to see showing off. Right, let's have a look. I'd love to see showing off. Because, it goes very well with medium and incubator,
Yes,
I guess.
of course.
Although there's no DBS or anything on the board, but it means that he can medium from the top, showing off from the bottom.
Yeah.
Let's have a quick look. He does not. He does not have showed off. That must be the 111th card.
Yeah.
I do like showing off. I think it's I don't know. I like
It-
terrible cards, but I think it's a nice card.
So there were a couple of Max Deep Dig decks that were doing the rounds
Yeah.
earlier on this year, and being able to medium dig through half of the corpse deck and then show off immediately afterwards to go up the other side, I think in that kind of situation is very powerful. Not necessarily one that you'd stick in every deck. So what we're seeing here. Ooh.
Oh, okay. Right, there's your answer. Then.
There's your answer.
So punitive presumably is Butchie Imps. Great decision.
Correct decision.
Yeah. Is probably Archive Memories doesn't really solve that particular problem. Okay, so you see a bunch of ice apart from that. Dave's gonna be quite happy with that.
Yeah.
So the punitive, that must be it. The plan must be you get punitive in hand, you put a 3-point agenda on a Valley Grid, they run it, you res Valley Grid, they've got a, I don't know, like 3-card hand or whatever, and then punitive next turn.
Punitive, archive, punitive.
Yeah, exactly, something like that. He's got the economic advantage. You're going to see some more cards. I didn't bother showing the same cards again because it would have been too much effort. Just more ice. There's a lot of ice in there. I think Rob makes a comment. He doesn't know what he has to do to win. But I think he's doing the right stuff to win. He could have already won. The fact that he hasn't is unlucky, but I don't think... Yeah, I mean, I think that he's got such an intense pressure on R&D. I assume we're going to see a purge. I'm not going to see a purge. Why wouldn't you purge? Why wouldn't you purge? I don't know. I mean, maybe he's... I feel like he's thinking, oh, I guess Rob's only going to see like 3 or 4 new cards. That's still good.
Yeah.
It's still a good amount of cards.
I mean, I
He's
suppose
putting a lot of faith in R&D.
Yeah, 2-turn win if he thinks he can keep him.
Oh,
out.
that's true. If this is game though, he
Yeah.
might have a 3-point agenda. You're right. So he may be hoping he can just survive the turn. Okay. So let's see if he survives. Right. An architect, sure, in case he needs to go back. More architects. So we've got Turing. We've got a whole bunch of next dice.
All the next.
Vitruvius, alright, so we're on 5. And, okay. So we're going to go again. He's going to see 2 new cards.
3 or 4, isn't he?
He'll see 2 new cards.
Because of the
He trashed
steel
one
and the
and-
melange
Oh,
and
sorry,
the
you're
imp.
right. 3 new cards. I apologise. So a lot of them the same. He's going to see Ash and trash it in case he has to go again. Okay. And,
Oh.
okay, alright. So I feel like he did the right thing. I would love to know if that's 3-point agenda in that remote. We may not find out before I fade black. He's on it.
Or is it going to be the aggressive secretary?
That'd be great as well. Okay, so if you had game in hand,
Yep.
I think you don't force it. I think you purge. You purge. You sit pretty on HQ. You just don't think about it. He's probably going to run R&D 4 times to get a bunch of counters, maybe trash some stuff. But he's seen the top 6 cards. You're probably all right.
Yeah.
And then I guess you just go for it and hope. But
or you stick down the
ice or something.
architect or something. You know, something that's going to maybe slow Rob down a bit.
I mean, architect, you can fast can break it. He can't do a few runs though. Yeah. I don't know. I'm not sure what the solution was there. I mean, Rob's. It turns out incredibly competitive Max deck. It's kind of really put the pressure on viruses. It's one of those things where you just kind of have to purge incubators before they go off because. And I would like to see him ice R&D more, maybe earlier. Get the defenses ready, just because one ice trash out of it, whether it's a knifed, or, which is what it turned out to be, or
Yeah.
parasite or whatever, and like all your defences are gone, and then it's just
Yeah.
virus counters for days.
I mean, so Rob really focused on R&D. He killed any ice that came across there, mainly with knifed. He didn't let Dave sort of stabilise and put his defences up there, but I mean, unless Dave was waiting for the ice to come through, he just thought that it was going to hold out and be resilient enough, but ultimately it betrayed him with 5 points over two turns.
Yeah, that's true. Although you could argue that Rob should have won before that. He'd accessed so many cards from R&D.
Yeah.
I mean, you feel like the fact that Dave was still kind of alive in that game was lucky. So, is Valley Grid punitive a thing?
Well, I haven't seen it before or since. Whether that's just because it hasn't found its happy... No, it's an interesting synergy.
Is it interesting out of HB? Like, would you consider it out of Wayland, for instance? Or Jinteki? Something where you're not paying double the influence, if you like. Yeah.
I'm punitive and HB have gone well together in the past.
I guess economy is important.
Economy
HB is great for economy. So is Wayland, Corset.
Yeah, I think the problem with punitive is you have to rely on the runner being fairly poor to get it to work. That's good against runners like Noise, who often sort of subsist on 4 or 5 credits rather than sort of racking up the big bucks. But against Kate, against Andy, if she's working, you're not necessarily, even if they steal, you've got to make that trace hit. Yeah,
it's I don't know. I'm struggling to see the economy is important. I get that. I'm struggling to see the thing that makes it really tempting to play. I don't know. To be honest, I like it. I like Valley Grids.
My thought would be, if you're going to...
I'm trying Wayland, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe Corset Wayland all operation economy.
The thing I tried to make work for a Jank tournament was 3-pointers, punitive, and cerebral overwriter in a HB deck. And if you're installing advancing, and if you get at least one agenda scored, and then maybe sneak out something else, they get to the point where the runner has to run.
Yeah, okay.
And if you've got a cerebral, will do the brain damage to make punitive more worthwhile, and you can also, so long as you're not siphoned so that you can't fire it, it's probably going to be more effective than the Valley Grid without the influence.
So Dave's agenda mix, right?
Yep.
He has 3 fragments.
Yep.
And a Pyrrhec. So he has 4 3-point agendas.
Mm-hmm.
Punitive, fine. Then he has 3 Vitruvius and a beta test. So he has 4 2-point agendas. Is that interesting in a punitive build? I mean, and he's got 3 Vitruvius and 1 beta. So he must value Vitruvius higher. I mean, I get the feeling that he's put it in HB because of recursion.
Yeah.
He likes the idea of having punitive, but he wants to be able to punitive, Archive of Memory punitive,
yep.
Punitive, Vitruvius punitive.
Yes.
I mean, to do that, he has to over-advance the Vitruvius, I guess. Yeah, so strange. I'm not sure.
How many ice is he running? He's running 18 ice. That's reasonable. I'm guessing he probably won't want to fire the beta test most of the time, but
That's true. Well, with Jackson, I guess maybe he had Jackson on the table when he scored the first Vitruvius. So if that had been a beta test, I guess you fire it. You might as well.
Yeah. And that just helps with the next plan. It's an interesting choice.
It was an interesting build. Rob's Max was also an interesting
build. Very interesting choice.
I mean, so the impression I got, and I mentioned at the start, is he got all the good Anarch cards.
Yep.
And he said, okay, that's 100 cards. I guess I've got some influence. Put some clone chips or whatever. Narrow the eyes. And then he's like, 110 cards. I'm going to find it difficult to cut this down. So whatever.
Yeah, let's go.
I mean, it works out Max. He didn't get close to the bottom of that deck. So it's basically just a free draw turn of a middling to good card.
Yep.
So you compare it with, let's take Laurie as an example. We're going to see Laurie in a few videos' time. He is playing a Max as well.
Mm-hmm.
He has 45 cards, being
Yep.
a more rational human. He also has Levy. He's got one level 3 Seminole thing, I believe. So the plan for him is, I guess, that he decks himself, levies, and he gets 2 runs out of his deck.
Yeah.
In theory, his cards are better than Max's, than Rob's, I mean, because he has half as many. So he took out the 60 worst cards. So I don't know. It's interesting. I don't think it's competitive, but it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I mean,
and I'm sure it's fun to play as well.
I guess it's do you want to have the right tool at the right time for the right thing, and therefore you have a huge deck list, and you know that you'll draw a proportion of that using the various different draw engines you've got. I mean, at least 10 or 12 of those 110 cards will purely be draw for Rob, whether that's John Masanori or Earthrise Hotel,
Street Peddler.
If you just want to get your econ back, some event cards and any breakers that might have gone in the bin, then I think the standard good stuff Max type build with a levy and some same olds are pretty powerful. They are susceptible to particular types of cards and other things that turn that deck off. Losing getting a Kronos project to lose your levy, blacklist, these things can cause Max all sorts of problems, and Max invariably will mill all of her econ and probably recursion, because that's just the way she seems to like to play it.
She does like that.
The chances of seeing a sure gamble in appearing into the free draw from Max is pretty small. But yeah, an interesting philosophy to the problem of Max and her self-milling. I don't know if it's the solution or not.
To be honest, I think I like it. I'm sure it's very fun to play, and I think what it does is, I think it will, if you're a good player, which Rob definitely is, then having a really unpredictable deck for the opponent, and you just play your hand. You just, okay, I'm going to get some cards. I get from this hand. This is the strategy I'm being led towards, and you just play and you just make those decisions. And if you're a good enough player to make those decisions, you can kind of steer this weird
juggernaut,
hose of cards towards victory. So I think he parted it very well. Okay, so that's enough of that. In the next round, I should mention our next video. I believe, although I may have miscounted, that our next video will be our 50th Neo Red and Grid video. Excellent. So, what better way? Thank you. What better way to celebrate than having an all Oxford matchup?
Yes.
God damn it! Damn you, Oxford! So, in the next game, round 3, game 1, we're going to have Brendan versus Stu. So, both very good Oxford players. Brendan, the long-time dominator of Reading tournaments. Stu, a more recent dominator of Reading tournaments.
As if the mantle has been passed.
Yes, in many ways, yeah. There's a certain student master thing going on there. And Brendan and Stu, they play a lot against each other. They're both playing Noise NEH. Mm-hmm. I reckon, I haven't actually looked at their deck lists, I would say they're probably 2 or 3 cards different on each side. I think this is basically a mirror match.
Yep.
And they're both going to know it, because they worked together to build these decks. So it'd be really interesting to see how that affects the game. The next video then will be Brendan playing NEH against Stu's Noise. So Brendan's obviously a long-time Noise player. He's been playing Noise for a long time, and I think less of an NEH player. But Stu has been a long-time NEH player, so I feel like they may have kind of fed each other the IDs and come up with the pairing. Quite interesting. So we'll look forward to that. Noise, on the face of it, I'm not sure what a Noise NEH matchup looks like. I feel like it depends what you hit. Right?
It depends what you hit. I think that's where the variance of Noise's ability and the ability for Stuart's Noise to get set up quickly, get the card and econ engine, which I'm assuming he's going to be running, because that's what most of the Noise builds see these days, to just put the hammer down, get in when he needs to, but milling those cards, milling the things that NEH needs. There's very few cards in an NEH deck that they wouldn't be happy to see at any point, so getting hitting anything is usually worthwhile.
Yeah, okay. And NEH, you obviously have to work out what it is quickly.
Oh, yeah.
but Stu won't. He'll know.
He'll know.
He'll know it's all the way but shop, because that's how random. I mean, any age is any age. You can transition to fast advance if you need to. You know, Sansan City Grid, that kind of thing in faction, Astros. You get. If it's all going wrong, then you can just kind of forget the death.
Let's get to plan.
Classic NBN.
Plan J.
Yeah. So Stu will know that that's a risk.
Yeah.
And he'll know. Yeah.
And that's quite an interesting problem for Noise, who generally doesn't necessarily have a big pile of money to sit on. Probably doesn't run Plasterite. Might have had worse.
He might have had worse.
Yeah. Usually the main way of trying to is either playing smart or trying to imp those key cards from hand.
So imp would be key, I think. If you're running a card Faust breaker engine, you may have a somewhat weak economy. You might be not great against mid-seasons. You might also have low cards at the worst time.
Yeah, invariably the one
breaking news into Scorch, that kind of thing.
So the one, your glory run into a server, getting rid of most of your hand, and then finding that that three deep dig on R&D shows you that they're going to get a hedge fund and two Scorches in the next three cards.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, so we'll see what happens with that. Anyway, should be a good game. They're both good players. Great. All right. So thank you, Andy, for helping me out.
Thank you very much.
And thank you, viewer, for watching, and we'll see you next time.